All right, an issue has come up with regards to Anthony Joshua and the WBO. A potential issue anyway, depending on how you want to look at it. This article from a few weeks ago on TalkSPORT mentioned the fact that the WBO have elevated Anthony Joshua to the status of super champion. And it says here that the Russian, Alexander Povetkin, is now being counted as two of AJ's mandatories. It says here that Povetkin is the WBA mandatory we know, but that Povetkin is also going to be the WBO mandatory. So this was from a couple of weeks ago, and they've got a screenshot here of the WBO rulings and what have you. It says here that Joshua has 18 months before he has to make his next mandatory defense. Now, a couple of weeks later, or just over a couple of weeks, because this was August 1st, today we get this article. Joshua ordered by the WBO to make mandatory defense after Povetkin. So this would seem to suggest that Povetkin isn't Joshua's WBO mandatory after all, and that he doesn't have 18 months to defend his WBO belt. No idea what's going on there, but let me just read from the article for you. It says here the WBO hasn't appointed a mandatory challenger for its heavyweight title. That hasn't stopped the sanctioning organization from informing Anthony Joshua that he'll have to make a mandatory defense of that championship within 180 days of his September 22nd fight against Alexander Povetkin, assuming the heavily favored Joshua wins that bout at London's Wembley Stadium. Sky Sports reported Thursday that the WBO hasn't determined whether it will first order an elimination match to establish the mandatory challenger for Joshua's title. Povetkin is ranked number 1 with the WBO's heavyweight ratings, but the Russian veteran is the WBA's mandatory challenger and won't fulfill the WBO's mandatory obligation. Dylan White, who badly wants a rematch with Joshua, is the WBO number 2's ranked heavyweight contender. Says here, be advised that at this time the WBO has yet to determine if a WBO heavyweight elimination contest will be ordered. And that was written by the WBO in a statement issued to Sky Sports. It goes on to say further, the involvement of our WBO international heavyweight champion Mr. Dylan White in a WBO elimination bout is uncertain. So really odd developments here, people. Because here we get Joshua apparently being elevated to super status, or super champion status, and being given a massive amount of time, however long it was. How long did it say again? 18 months to make his next mandatory defense. So it's well over a year. And then a couple weeks later, no, he doesn't have 18 months. And, Povetkin's not going to be his mandatory challenger anymore. And he's going to have to defend against whoever the mandatory challenger is within 180 days of his September 22nd fight against Povetkin. So they've done a complete 180 on the situation at WBO. Very, very strange. And there are going to be people out there, I already know there are going to be people out there who are saying that this is all orchestrated by Eddie Hearn. That Eddie Hearn don't want Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder in April, and that the plan all along was for him to put on Anthony Joshua versus Dylan White. And the reason that they're going to say that, and hey, maybe they're right, who knows? I don't know, but neither do they. We're all just speculating here. But the reason they're going to say that is because Dylan White is the next highest ranked available contender beneath Povetkin, who doesn't qualify because, for whatever reason, for the WBO mandatory position. So Dylan White is the next available, and below him is Jarrell Miller. So potentially the WBO, remember Jarrell Miller is working with Eddie Hearn right now. Yeah, he's on a, free fight deal or something like that with DAZN and Hearn. So the WBO potentially could order a final eliminator between Dylan White and Jarrell Miller. And by the way, that's a fight I'd love to see. That's not a fight I would grumble at. with the winner of that fight taking on Anthony Joshua within 180 days of the Povetkin defense. So that would be around, would it be around April? I can't do the maths right now, but would April, the proposed date for Joshua's next fight after Povetkin, fit in with the WBO schedule? If it does, then that's going to fit in with the conspiracy theory of people who say this is all orchestrated by Eddie Hearn to bring about an in-house fight between the winner of White Miller against Joshua. Or maybe it'll just be White. Maybe White don't have to go down the Miller route. Maybe White can fight Chisora and the winner of that gets a crack at Joshua. You know, maybe the winner of that will be WBO mandatory. Who knows? And Miller will get sidelined and frozen out. I've got no idea. I'm just putting out the claims that a lot of people are going to make. Look, I'm struggling to make sense of this situation. Why this contradictory information has come out in such a short space of time. You know, start of the month, Joshua's got 18 months to make his next defense. And then all of a sudden, that 18 months is chopped down to just a few days. What is it, 180 days? Maybe it was a typo or something. Maybe somebody forgot to put the 0 on the end of the 18 here. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Maybe it was. No, I don't mean a typo in the article. I mean a typo in the information from the WBO. Maybe it put 18, and people just took it for 18 months rather than 18 weeks. You know. So anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Or sorry, 18 months rather than 18 days. Because if the WBO had left the 0 off the end of 18 days, people would have assumed that WBO made a typo, right? It can't be 18 days after the Povetkin fight. It has to, they mean 18 months, right? So they just changed days to months in their article on TalkSPORT, perhaps. I don't know, just speculation to try and explain why there's such a strange turnaround from the WBO. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comment section below. I hope to God that we get Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, or whoever is the winner of Wilder against Fury. I hope to God we get that fight in April. I will be massively disappointed if we don't get Joshua versus the winner of Fury Wilder in April. I'll be very, very disappointed. You know, and it's nothing against Jarrell Miller or Dylan White, but we've already seen Dylan White fight Joshua. And Jarrell Miller versus Joshua is a fight I'm interested in, actually. I'm more interested in Miller versus Joshua than White versus Joshua too. Because we ain't seen Miller versus Joshua before. And I think Miller would be a tough fight for Joshua. But still, I would much rather see Joshua versus the winner of Wilder Fury first, before we see that. You know, so that's my priority, is seeing the fight for the undisputed heavyweight title. But in the meantime, if that fight can still go ahead, Joshua against the winner of Wilder Fury in April, in the meantime, I would love to see Dylan White versus Jarrell Miller. I can't imagine there are going to be many people who would grumble at that. White versus Miller, that's a great fight. And just to close out, it certainly has to be said that when you are the holder of multiple championship belts, it can be very difficult to keep hold of them. There's no doubt about that. It can be incredibly difficult. And most fighters struggle to hold on to all the belts for very long. Gennady Golovkin was recently stripped. Lennox Lewis, after becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion when he beat Holyfield in the rematch, he was stripped pretty quickly of one of his belts for refusing to fight, I think it was John Ruiz at the time. And he fought Michael Grant instead, who was the American hope. You know, at the time, it was a much bigger fight for more money, and there was a lot more hype behind Michael Grant than there was around John Ruiz. So Lewis took the bigger fight, but that cost him one of his belts. You know, So very difficult to keep hold of all your belts. That has to be said. Regardless of any conspiracies that may or may not be going on, it's very, very tough to keep hold of all your championships when you've got multiple. So yeah, let me know how you feel about all this in the comment section below. If you can explain to me what has gone on, if you can explain the actions of the WBO better than I can, feel free to do so in the comment section. All right, it's Hatman, I'm out.